I would put a clean, because we'll be blamed for the shutdown.
Yeah.
I would put a clean CR on the floor with none of this foolishness in it. And if Senator Schumer wants to shut down government at the behest of the Graham Plattner wing of his party, he should knock himself out. I don't think he'll do it, but he might.
All right.
Well, we have a conclusion on that, as I understand. That was Senator John Kennedy on Meet the Press talking about a potential government. We're in shutdown season again, folks. You'd think it comes once a year, but not anymore. We get a few opportunities to celebrate this recurring holiday. But I guess maybe we've avoided possibly. Chuck Schumer kind of stunned everybody. Let's get to the bottom of that story. Chad Pergram joins us once again, Chief Congressional Correspondent for Fox News on X at Chad Pergram. Chad, welcome back. Thanks for being with us today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Talk to us about the non-shutdown. Are we going to avoid one maybe for a moment at least?
Maybe. I mean, it's not done. That's for sure. But the Senate has, been able to cross a key procedural hurdle here. They had, almost 90 votes for this interim spending bill that would fund the government through early December. It's not the same bill that the House passed. They've not passed it in the Senate yet. I expect them to do that before the end of the week. And then they would pivot and see what if the House can eat that when they come back at the end of August, 1st of September. Now, if they are able to clear the deck on that, that is a big deal. Just because, there was a school of thought here. You heard Republicans always saying, Democrats want to shut the government down. Mm-hmm. Between you and me, I always thought that was a little bit of spin, frankly, from the Republicans. But Democrats, I want to know exactly what pound of flesh they extracted from their shutdown last fall. Now they might have ingratiated themselves with their Democratic voters, saying they were fighting for health care and all that. But a lot of times this doesn't, wash up in the electoral result. So I think that people saying, okay, we're going to have another government shutdown and just the chaos it would provide and everything else. Now, here's the wild card. I wonder, and I'm going to play some real multi-level chess here. Remember on Star Trek, you see them playing
Yes.
Mr. Spock and everything? Okay. I wonder if the Democrats have called the president's bluff because they're not going to pass the Save America Act. And he has insisted that they put that on every piece of legislation. Now, I wonder if, letting history be our guide, how he did not sign the bipartisan housing bill, and it became law just a couple of months ago. I wonder if he might refuse to sign this interim spending bill unless they attach the Save America Act to it, which would be a poison pill for the Democrats. And then the Democrats turn around and say, Mr. President, we worked with everybody. There's, X number of House members, X number of, Senate members, bipartisan, and you shut down the government. And this is all on him. I'm thinking ahead here.
Sure. Just
based on, as I say, history being our guide. So we'll see come fall.
Well, I think that it's definitely something. Of course, everybody is always trying to anticipate the future. And it seems to me like instead of focusing on, you can correct me here because you work on Capitol Hill, but it seems that a lot of Congress spends their time not necessarily like really striving to accomplish things, but just try to make sure that when everything crashes, that the other side gets the blame.
Oh, I'm shocked.
Probably a little bit of both of there.
But this is what happens in politics. They conduct policy in a political environment, as John Boehner, the former speaker, would say. And so the idea that people are trying to one up the other or trying to get ahead or make the other side look bad or, see if somebody overplays their hand, then, okay, that's what they've got. The Democrats think that might work to their benefit, especially right before the election.
Well, so we will continue to watch and see what happens. The budget process, give us just the 100 level class, not even 101. We're not quite there yet, on how the budgeting, the thing that normally leads into the government shutdown. It seems like a lot of times this is happening right before Christmas, but we're talking
right
about
before
it right
October
now.
1st is usually the deadline, and then they usually punt. Now, we could be wrestling with this again just before Christmas in early December because that's the new deadline if they pass this. But I think that will be dictated on by which party wins the midterms or if it's a split or if Republicans retain both houses or whatever. So we might be out of the woods for a bit, but maybe not that long. And that's why, Christmas comes but once a year. And it's always very special on Capitol Hill.
Sure. All right. We're speaking with Chad Pergram right now, Chief Congressional Correspondent for Fox News. You mentioned the midterms. It's going to be a huge factor, I would presume, in how the Republican majority in the House and the Senate act going into when that new Congress would be installed at the beginning of January of 2027. Do you get the vibe at all that these what is it, 3 Republican senators that were primaried or not returning that don't love Donald Trump, no love lost there at all.
Mm-hmm.
If let's say that Republicans end up losing the House, which is
two who were primaried, one who decided to not seek re-election, Tom Tillis.
Okay, good detail there. If the Republicans lose the House, which is historically reliable, that would likely be the outcome, do you get the vibe at all that those senators might be willing to play ball a little bit in that window of time where they still retain the majority in the House and the Senate, Republicans do? Or do you feel like they would sour even more?
I don't think that following members in lame duck Congresses that they change their views that much or their positions that much. A lot of people say, "Oh, they'll just vote for anything just to get out of here." People say that. My experience and watching these lawmakers, regardless of why they aren't coming back or decided to retire on their own, you don't see people stray from their views very much. Now, people have talked about Bill Cassidy, Republican of Louisiana, John Cornyn of Texas, certainly having some different views a little bit and making a little more trouble for the president in recent months. They certainly didn't in the Judiciary Committee today because they greenlighted Todd Blanche's nomination. Certainly Senator Cornyn and Tom Tillis did. Bill Cassidy's not on that committee today. They had some reservations with his nomination, and then they came around here over the weekend. But you generally don't see people just saying, okay, I'm just going to stick it to somebody going out the door or whatever. No, people still take this very seriously, typically, and say, I'm going to represent my people as best I can.
Chad Pergram speaking with us right now. So let's talk a little bit about the Todd Blanche nomination process. There was quite a hang-up. I think I read on some X posts that maybe Chuck Grassley had a lot to do with bringing all the sides together to come make this this nomination be possible, to get it out of committee. What is the hang-up on Blanche, and does it look like after he has now been moved out of committee, as I understand it, that he will be able to be confirmed?
Well, the issue was the weaponization fund, and the issue was the president's shield on the IRS tax returns. What I think is very interesting about this, and this has gotten zero reporting, that on one hand, when Todd Blanche sent the document and said, okay, we are killing the weaponization fund, at the same time, the DOJ appealed to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals on the same issue. Now, is this issue alive or dead? Nobody has covered that. And Dick Durbin, the Democratic whip, who is also the top Democrat on the Judiciary Committee, said today, he said the way that agreement is written that seemed to mollify Tom Tillis and John Cornyn. He said, I don't see any reason why the president wouldn't just be able to resuscitate this and bring it back if he wanted. And he will. He got the votes he wanted with Todd Blanche, and so guess what? It'll be done. Now, to be clear, Todd Blanche is not confirmed on the Senate floor. That will probably happen, though, I would suspect, later this week. There are still a couple of Republican senators that they have to get on board. You can lose a couple. Mitch McConnell continues to be out. It's not an issue of J.D. Vance breaking a tie because you've got an odd number of senators, unless it's like 48-48 and people are absent or something. He can only vote if it is a tie. So I think that getting him out of committee probably unlocks some votes on the Republican side of the aisle, where you had people like maybe John Curtis and Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, maybe Susan Collins of Maine, who said, I'm not going to vote for somebody who gets a bad recommendation out of the Judiciary Committee. Well, they got a favorable vote, and that's what they said. You could send somebody to the floor with a unfavorable recommendation, no recommendation, or a favorable one. You just have to get it out of committee. They were able to do that with a favorable one, and people who don't serve on that committee, which are some of the senators I just mentioned, they are looking for guidance from their colleagues. And so that might unlock those votes, and that's probably why he will be confirmed later this week.
Chad Pergram, I know I only have like a minute left with you, but you mentioned Mitch McConnell, and I think that is a question that a lot of people have. Where is he? How is he? What's the situation there? What are the obligations that the senator has to the Senate and to the people of Kentucky he represents?
Well, that's a question that I have asked dating back to the Tom Kean Jr. situation, the Republican representative from New Jersey who was gone for a protracted period of time this spring, didn't really give any guidance or update on what his condition was until the end. And at the time, I had asked Mike Johnson the day that Tom Kean Jr. came back, and I said, what is his obligation, to the voters? And I think that most voters believe that they deserve a little more information. They elected these folks. And in the case of Kaine and in the case of McConnell, they haven't gotten much. Now, Tom Kaine Jr., at the end, he did explain what his situation was. He was suffering from mental health problems and needed hospitalization. McConnell, we have a little more information, but not a lot. And, does he continue to serve out the balance of this term? He's done January 3rd at 11:59 in the morning, so it's not that much longer. But that does put the Republican majority at a deficit for at least, he hasn't been here since June. He's not going to be here this week. We believe that they will be out for most of August and the first part of September. Do we see him sometime around early to mid-September? We don't know.
Has he spoken to anybody in the press or anything since he's been out? Nope.
No, we've seen these two photographs. And as you might imagine, and this was the same, see, this is what happens. Nothing can exist in a vacuum. And that's why you start to get all this wild conjecture about what his condition might be, whether he's even with us anymore. The same to a lesser degree with Tom Kaine Jr. We see this all the time. And people say, well, why can't we just, remove them from office? Well, you can't. Constitution gives pretty clear guidelines of what the qualifications are to be in the Senate or be in the House. And to add something on top of that, you can't say, well, if he's sick or misses so many votes, now if they put that in the Constitution, great. It's not in the Constitution. So you can be elected and never show up at all.
Wow.
You don't have to do anything, and there's no way they can get back at you unless they decide to expel you, which the Constitution, if you look at that, is very vague on why they could expel. It just says 2/3. So if you got 2/3, you could expel anybody for anything, for jaywalking if you wanted. But, they generally don't do that for health. And why? Especially in the Senate, they will say to you privately, there I go, but for the grace of God. It's Mitch McConnell today. Mm-hmm. It could be me tomorrow.
All right. Well, Chad Pergram, that's an update that a lot of people are wanting to hear about. We appreciate your details there, and we'll have you back again soon. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.